everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about homeschooling. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. And this is what I used to tell everyone who came up to me and asked me, how can you homeschool? Three children in all different ages, 2 years apart and 3 years apart. And I used to tell them, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I wanted to share with you today how our family started the journey and basically how we continue the journey on through end of high school, and then how all three of our children went to college, and two graduated, and one is going to be graduating end of this year. And if any of what I am about to share with you can be of encouragement or help, then this video was worth the time to make it. And I get this question all the time wherever I go, and because of the kind of job that I do right now, I do educational consulting. So when parents come to me through friends or word of mouth, or just from hearing where my children are at the stage, they always ask me several questions, and it takes me hours and hours to explain and share with them our journey. And so I thought if I made a video of it, because I'm kind of literally saying the same thing over and over to every single parent that I meet, that if I made a video, then it could encompass all of the information that I've been telling them, and hopefully that information that I've shared with them can also help you guys along your journey or possibility of your choices and decisions that you might make to homeschool your children this coming school year. I hope you enjoy the video and hopefully learn something. I think with any journey that you take, it's always good to have a mindset of, okay, why am I homeschooling? Other than the fact that, maybe the schools are not going to be meeting face to face, and thus I want to homeschool this coming school year. Or my child feels like he's, lagging behind academically, or my child is, too far ahead compared to most of the other students in the classroom. So my child needs special attention. So whatever the reason is, it's always good when you bring them home to homeschool to have that goal and mission. And when you have that goal or mission of why you're homeschooling them, I think that is a good reminder of a constant, daily basis or even monthly basis, and especially when it comes to around March, April time. That's when moms are burnt out, children are burnt out of being homeschooled during the school year. And I remember my other homeschool moms, we used to kid around and say right around March time, some of my friends would literally drive by public schools or private schools and go, oh, that looks nice. Just as a way of them to just kind of vent out that, it is hard homeschooling. I'm not going to lie. Homeschooling is not the easiest thing, but it's not the hardest thing either, I found. Because once you get into the rhythm of it, first 2 years is the hardest because you're kind of trying to figure out, your children's learning style. You're trying to figure out the scheduling. You're trying to figure out the curriculum. You're trying to figure out how to implement a certain lesson and how to write a lesson plan, and the list goes on. Yes, but it's very difficult, but for the first 2 years. And then after that, I think you start to figure out different ways that works best for your own children and for your own family. And so when you have a certain vision of why you're homeschooling in terms of for your family, then I think that becomes a constant reminder during the times when you're having that difficult time of knowing that, oh, you have to handle this, you have to take care of this, you have to be a mommy, and at the same time you have to be a teacher, and you have to be a principal. During those times when it all of a sudden all those things clash and makes it hard for you as a mom slash teacher slash principal slash counselor sometimes slash mentor sometimes. But when you remember that reason, that vision, that goal that you have for your children long term, and go back to it, then you remember why you decided to pick a certain curriculum, why you decided to teach a certain way, and why you decided to homeschool them. I think that kind of sets you up for long-term success in homeschooling. in many sense of the word, success. Success can come in so many different shapes and forms, and different families will define success in their own way, whether it is spiritually or mentally or socially or academically, or maybe a combination of many. But having that set up way early on with your husband and with your children and explaining that purpose, I think that will help all members of the family to continue that journey even during the hard times and the easy times and the difficult times. So, one of the first questions that I'm asked time and time again is why I started homeschooling, or why our family started homeschooling. And this was way back in the 90s when my first child started kindergarten. And we always thought, okay, he's going to go into kindergarten, and my second one will join him a year later, and our third one will join 3 years later. And everything was planned. I was already in the education system. I had studied education. And so I thought, when my kids go to school and they finish their school and during their holidays, I'll get the same vacation holidays, and I'll be able to spend time with them during the summer, and it's all set. Then we had reasons that kind of somewhat forced us, or somewhat had us change that plan. And so we decided to homeschool and pulled both of our kids, first and the second child, out of the school and started homeschooling them in October. So it was kind of like school had already started, and we pulled them out around October 31st, which was Halloween Day, of course, and started homeschooling them. And the way I started was that I didn't prep. So most homeschooler families that I know during my journey, they had all decided early on, even before their kids started going to school, that they were going to homeschool their children. So they had prepared their curriculum, went to seminars, and made up all the lesson plans for the whole school year during the summer. And so I felt a little bit lost, but at the same time, it's as if, those moments where you go, God has prepared me to homeschool, kind of thing, because it's not, I know I have an educational background, however, I didn't have the prep time or that mentality of, oh, I'm going to be homeschooling. So having that preparation emotionally to know that a certain day I'm going to, teach my kids at home and have everything online and have a classroom set up and all of the things that you would think that preparation or early preparation goes into effect. I took the kids out of school on Friday and we started homeschooling on Monday. So I had the weekend to prepare. And good thing was that what happened was, because it was a private school that my kids were attending, that we were able to request the curriculum that they were about to learn the rest of the school year, because we had already prepaid for all of the curriculum and the books, that they were willing to give us the books, which was really nice, and allow us to take it home and to continue their learning the same books. So that's how we ended up starting. But why I say is that it's God prepared me to start this journey was because even before I had even thought of homeschooling, one of my sisters who knew that she was going to homeschool even before she had her children told me or asked me, oh, you should go to the seminars with me, or you should go to a homeschool convention with me. And I used to always tell her, no, I'm not even thinking about homeschooling. I already have, our schedule set up, or our year set up, where I'm going to work at the school district where my kids go to, or at the private school that they go to, and I'm going to work there, start the school with them, end the school day with them, and I just have it all planned out. Well, that didn't happen. But what did happen was the preparation of going to those seminars, going to the workshops, and going to the conferences really helped me at that moment to think back, oh, I remember this person at this conference, the speaker had said this and this and this to prep myself. And so all those little information that I had been kind of putting into my mind I was able to retrieve that back and implement that during that school year. So that was really helpful of me going to those previous conferences and workshops, which I highly recommend if you're starting out. That if you're able to, I know during this time, it's no conferences are happening or workshops, but however, I know that some of the conferences are being held virtually, and just attending one or two really helps you in that mindset of figuring out why you're homeschooling, or the decision that you made, or maybe possible even practical ways that you can homeschool. That has helped me a lot in the beginning stages. So just that little background information of how we started homeschooling, because of certain health issues that one of my children had that prevented her from attending, and so we didn't want our older child to feel like he doesn't get to stay home, but she does, and I didn't want our daughter to feel like, oh, why does he get to go because of my health issues? And so we just decided for the best thing for both of them is to just have both of them come home and be homeschooled. So we started our homeschool journey when our first child was first grade, and then our second child was kindergarten, and then our third child was still a toddler. So that's how we started our journey of homeschooling. And yes, there are benefits of homeschooling. There are many benefits. And because I've kind of gone through the journey of going through from K through grade 12, looking back, I see that there were benefits that I will always cherish with me as a homeschooling mom. My children on the other side, they will speak for themselves, but from my point of view, I do really have to say that some of the benefits that came out of homeschooling my children was the time that I was able to spend with them. That is irreplaceable, almost kind of like what they say, priceless, because it's something that I cannot go back and get. It's something that I cannot, try to replicate that moment that I wish I could have spent time with them, or the moment that I wish I had experienced with them. Many times I can look back and say, oh, the learning experiences that I was able to experience with them in itself is a benefit, because I was able to see how my children think. I was able to experience and witness how they overcome certain issues or certain challenges in their lives, and how I was able to stand by them, next to them, and help them through that journey. I think that in itself makes me, really look back and say I was so glad that I was able to be there during those times that they were going through that. And the fact that I was able to understand that at the moment when they were struggling with certain academic parts, I was able to hone in and really sit down and figure out on my own and see, okay, how can I help him or her so that she or he can succeed in certain areas? Or how can I, in a way, when I realize something, because I've spent enough time with them on a daily basis, that when I saw certain things that lighten up their eyes, or when I see certain things that kind of makes them cringe, then I knew that those were signs that helped me as a parent / teacher to really steer them this way, or steer them that way, or encourage them this way, or encourage them that way, or change up a certain thing in their scheduling or their curriculum to kind of help and benefit them. So it was kind of catering toward each child's benefit, each child's interest, each child's passion, and kind of honing it down on that. I think that makes homeschooling a big benefit for families, when you're able to kind of individualize each child's learning style, each child's passion, each child's interest, and you're able to kind of hone in on that. And the other thing that benefited us as a homeschooler was, I remember my children had been learning violin and piano, and we had just moved into a new town. And while asking around different parents, who do you go to, or who's your violin teacher, who's your piano teacher? and they would tell me certain teachers' names. And when I contacted them right away, because they were, in high demand, they would tell me, oh, I don't have any space, I'm sorry, but I can recommend. And then, of course, for us, the magic word was always, oh, I homeschool my children. And right away, of course, they say, oh, well, then that's a different story, because they were able to teach my children while all the other students were at school during the school hours. And so I just kind of plugged it into my schedule to say, okay, during certain time, it could be 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., that was a piano lesson time or a violin lesson time, because those were the hours that the teachers had free. And so we got to pick and choose our teachers without having to get on the wait list of certain teachers that were on high demand. So that was one of the other benefits. And along that line, because we had the flexibility of scheduling, we were able to take vacation trips / field trips, what I call, during the school year, when it was not in high demand of, in terms of hotel prices or airplane tickets or even attractions that we would go to. It's less busier. And so we were able to go to different places during the school year and travel and learn about the different areas. And so that's the benefit of homeschooling, is that when they're in elementary school, because you can implement a certain lesson during the school week, and then so say that I had planned we're going to be going to Washington, D.C., then I know in advance that what's there that we can kind of go and visit. And then I would implement that during our curriculum time and read books and watch videos and look at pictures beforehand before going to a certain location. Because they've read and because they've watched videos or pictures or picture books, then when we get there, they have this all sense of, oh my gosh, I read about that, and they themselves are explaining to each other and to me, and then I could ask questions, and then we kind of have a conversation while we're looking at things, rather than kind of going and seeing something, going and then going somewhere there and going But then it's more of, because they have this background information before going to a certain location, it gives them that sense of understanding and that sense of kind of confidence that when they see something, they really know what it is, rather than just reading the plaque or the information that's right below a certain maybe statue or in a museum painting or a building that we may see. So that kind of gave us the benefit of being able to do that early on in their elementary school years, where that really kind of played out different scheduling for us, and that it benefited us in that way. So I kind of touched upon the benefits that kind of aligned with elementary school years. And when it comes to the benefits of homeschooling your children during the middle school years and the high school years, is that during the middle school years, you're able to hone in on or narrow your interest, or at least your students' interest, little by little, to a point where you know where their strengths are and their weaknesses, and you try to change up a curriculum or add on certain curriculum in order, or alter it if you have to. And that's the beauty of homeschooling, is that you don't have to stick to one type of curriculum every school year. You have that freedom to change up your curriculum, in terms of the publisher that you want to use this year, or if it didn't work out for you, even mid-school year, and I've done this, mid-school year, if something has not been working out, and I tried teaching a certain different ways, and it still doesn't work out, and my student is still not learning or understanding, I will, in the middle of the school year, change the curriculum, change the publisher, and order a brand new type of learning book, or change it up where maybe it's a video version, or stop the video style of learning and then using books. And so that kind of gives you that benefit or that option of homeschooling your middle school years, where you know that it's getting a little bit harder than the elementary school years, where more science, more heavier math is coming into play. So you have that flexibility which homeschooling brings, to change up the curriculum and kind of cater toward your students' strengths and weaknesses. So if you see a strength in a certain area, then you know that that child can handle it and will thrive even when you're able to add on even more rigorous stuff each year. And then you kind of realize that there are certain areas in your child or children that you see are weaknesses, and then you kind of add on other things within that same curriculum to supplement that basic curriculum so that they can understand from different sides of that certain curriculum or that certain area of learning experience that they will go through. So changing it up, being flexible, it's what homeschooling allows you to do. And I think that's a really key benefit, because if you were to send them to school, that's kind of like hard to do. If your child doesn't understand a certain math topic or science topic, the teacher's not going to be changing it up or trying to stop the whole class just to help your one child. So by doing it at home, so say I have 3 children, so if one child is having or struggling with a certain topic in math, what I'll do is, while the other ones are kind of doing their own work on the side, I will take one child and kind of go through it a little bit more one-on-one, back and forth, and just to make sure, and understand where he or she is, and then we'll continue the next day one-on-one until that child can eventually, the goal is eventually to get them to a point where they are self-directed learners. So they learn how to figure things out on their own. They learn how to say, hey, I'm interested in this. I'd like to learn more about this. And for me as an educator, I will help them figure out how to find, and research. And then once they realize that through research and trying to figure out this way or that way, then they take over that role on their own. Whether, some students will take on that role faster than others. And based on your own children, I had one child who was that kind of type where I want to learn this, and so they went full force with it on their own eventually. In the beginning stages, of course, as a mom/teacher, you're kind of helping them pave the way where they can eventually do it on their own. And so when that point comes, and you will know it when that point comes, you don't even have to wonder, because a lot of parents ask me, well, how do you know when the child is ready to do such and such? Well, you'll know because your child will give you signs, really, really clear signs saying, I will, or I want, or can I? And if you're able to pick out those moments, then you know that child is ready to do so on their own, kind of exploring on their own, kind of navigating on their own certain areas of topics that they're very interested in. And then you as a parent will just help them and prepare the way for them to do it, whether it's you're helping to go and buy or purchasing things for them online or at a physical store, or you're taking them to a certain location that they're interested in learning more about, or you're kind of whatever they might kind of give you like a little hints of their interest, then you will help them kind of match them up with other mentors that might know more than you as a parent, about a certain topic, and then kind of match them up so then they can be mentored toward them. So there's various ways that you can end up navigating them towards in the middle school years that kind of is a benefit when you're a homeschooler. Now, when they start getting into the high school years, the other benefit of homeschooling the high school years is that when they become high schoolers, like I said, from the elementary school year, they start honing in slowly during the latter part of the elementary school year into middle school year. You kind of pick up on their talents and their strengths and their weaknesses. And it's okay if you don't find that out until high school, and that's fine. It's just individual. So looking at their individual strengths and weaknesses, and not assuming that just because your first child has this strength, that necessarily the second child will have that either, or vice versa, weaknesses. And so when you get into the high school years with your kids, that's when you really hone in, and you can kind of pick out. And if there isn't something that sticks out about each child and about their strength or their passion, it's okay. You just continue your high school years with the basics, or what university's basic requirement for them to graduate and say, okay, you've met the requirements to apply to our school. But I think the other benefit of homeschooling in the high school years is that when your child has a certain interest and is very good at it, meaning you can see that it, the subject that your child is learning, they are excelling. And then you test it out with the next level of class. Say that it's chemistry, okay? Say chemistry 101 in high school, and they are asking beyond, what is there in the book, or wanting to know more and wanting to explore more, research more. Then you realize that there is an option. And in the beginning, I was very hesitant because there are certain homeschoolers, homeschooling community that is really against sending their children to community college. And so because of that mindset, I myself was very hesitant, thinking, oh my gosh, I feel so guilty if I, have my kids go to community college. That's not, what am I doing as a homeschooling mom when I told myself that I wanted to homeschool my children all the way through 12th grade. But then I realized, going back to, again, what I said about vision and mission of our homeschooling, is that my vision and mission was to have certain areas in their life, with growth. And so I felt like by not allowing them to have that, that moment of that experience of learning more at a higher level environment, which would have been community college for us, I would have been robbing them of an opportunity for them to learn more. So our family started sending our children to community college to further their academic subjects in certain areas. For example, in the beginning it was math and science, and then foreign language. And so we kind of went that route with the first child and the second child, and then we realized, oh, it's not as daunting of an experience for my children or for me as a parent. So our children, when they got into high school years, we kind of understood each child and knew that a certain strength of each child's academic journey that they will take. We knew that that was an area where one of our child was strong in certain areas, so we kind of went that direction in terms of classes that the child was going to take in community college. And then one of the child wanted to explore different kind of classes, and so that child went to take various classes, variety of classes, I should say, in the community college. And then another one explored it earlier on and kind of went a little bit wider and kind of honed in on a certain subject, and then kind of went straight toward that topic in terms of career choice that child wanted to take in the long run. And so we kind of scheduled around classes that were going to benefit and supplement that interest or career interest in the long run. In this video, I shared our family's homeschool journey. Please feel free to ask questions in the comment section if you'd like to know more specific information. Thank you.